Let's do a top-end installation for the CBR1000. So I just finished fixing this thing, the top end. Today we're going to put it all back together. So I can show you guys how to do that. So this is a 2004 CBR1000. I just rebuilt the motor on it. I had to pull it back apart because one of the valve keepers had dropped. So that's why the cams are off. And today I have to reinstall them. So I'll show you guys how to reinstall the camshafts and time the motor properly. An important part, because a lot of people mess this up. They'll put the chain on in incorrect order, or they'll put the sprockets and those sprockets won't be aligned, and you'll go to start it and the whole motor will just blow up because you'll put a valve through a piston or something like that. So today I'll show you how to avoid doing that. So the first thing you want to do, and the most important thing, is make sure that you're at top dead center on the first cylinder. So there'll be timing mark, there'll be a T and an F. T just means top dead, and then F is fire. So you want to align the top dead center mark with this indicator mark on the clutch cover right here. So once you have those in line, everything else you can just kind of forget about this crankshaft. As long as you know that it hasn't moved and it's always there, forget about with the crankshaft. Everything else is going to be up here. Your camshafts, so your exhaust camshaft is going to have the cam sensor, position sensor on it. So it's going to have this prong thing here. Your intake isn't going to have that. So that's how you know which camshaft's which. It'll also say somewhere on the shaft EX and then IN for intake. Is find your exhaust cam, and you can see here this line with the EX on it. That is the only line that's going to matter on your exhaust valve side. You're going to take your cams, slip it in here, and your goal here, and the main thing, is that the exhaust side of your cam chain is taut. So when you're at top dead center here, you want to pull on this side of the chain, the exhaust side. So the right side of the chain, you're going to pull taut. You want to make sure that it's very tight. And then you're going to take your exhaust line and you're going to line it up with the valve head, which is the top of the motor. Alright, so that looks good. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I think you can see there's an exhaust. There's a line here and it says IN. So you want to match this with the top of the cover. So let me show you that. So making sure that you're still taut on the exhaust side, you're going to take your intake cam and you're going to line it up such that this top line here is flush. Well, this exhaust cam is slightly off, so I'm just going to put a mark there. So because I think that cam has to rotate this way slightly. So let's try doing that really quick. It looks pretty good. Let's try this. Right, so we have our thing there. I believe it has to rotate. Towers. There's going to be an R on one and an L on other, meaning right and left. So your right one's going to go here, obviously because it's to the right. Your left one is going to go here, obviously because it's to the left. And then you're going to take this one, and these are going to be facing this way, like this. And you're going to slip that right there. Boom. Boom. This is going to line up your camshafts in this direction. So I dropped some bolts, of course. Always dropping bolts. I'm the bolt dropper, some may say. Okay, so now you can kind of see what's on. So you can see this line that's right here, and you see how that's flush with the top of this valve cover? That's where you want that. And so it's kind of hard to see the exhaust side, but there's going to be an EX instead of an IN, meaning exhaust, and you're just going to do the same thing that I did like this, but on this camshaft here. Now the thing to remember is this is hard. Like, you're going to struggle with this, but you'll know when you get it right. You got to make sure the tension is good here. Make sure it's always taut, this side of the cam chain, and you always want to make sure you have tension on it. And once you have them aligned, they're going to fit in perfectly, and you'll know if they're not aligned. And start bolting these down. There's going to be a bolt pattern on it. You can see the numbers. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So start with 1, and this is going to take you a while because you kind of got to do it slowly. There's 1, and the thing is once you start to tighten one, the other one you're going to tighten another one, and then that one's going to become loose. Like, see, I tightened that one down. Now I'm going to tighten this one down here because this is number 4. And after I tighten that one down, this one becomes loose, so I have to tighten that one, and so on. So just make sure you're following the sequence. So 5 and 6. Oh, don't drop that. Boom. 7, 8, 9, 10. God damn. Oh, where art thou? There we go. This is a very tedious process, because you can't like just all tighten them down at once. You kind of gotta go in order and take your time. The last thing you want to do is put these in wrong. This is like, I would say, one of the most common ways people blow up motors after they rebuild them, because it's the last thing you do, and it's like, oh, all I've got to do is put the cams in, but that's not. I've heard countless stories of people doing this wrong and causing serious problems. Okay, now it's a good time to make sure your cams are straight. So I know the exhaust side's good. Boom. This piece of slack here, you're going to lose that when you install this cam tensioner. So if I get rid of this slack, I can do that with a 10 mil. I just want to double check my cams are in the right spot. So you can see the exhaust side. I don't know if you can see that. I can barely see it. But I know that the line is lined up there. So that one's good. I know my intake is good. And I know that I'm at top dead center. So these cams are in the right spot. Now I can go ahead and finish torquing all these bolts down. So after I get all the rest of these hand tight, I'll go through with my torque wrench just to make sure they're all evenly torqued. I set our torque wrench to 9 foot-pounds, and now we're just going to torque these in sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and nice. So we're good. Got those installed. You have your cams in. You know your cams are on properly, and you want to now, and you have everything tightened down. The last thing and most important thing is to tighten your tensioner. So this has a manual tensioner on it. Stock, they'll come with an automatic tensioner. For the manual one, once I feel it make contact, I'm going to back it out a bit, because you do not want to over tighten these. Lock it in there. So I'm just using an open end, doing between 8 and 10 foot-pounds. Nothing crazy. Just make sure it's tight. Don't want it coming out. Alright, so we got that in. Cam chain's in. Cams are in. They're bolted down. Now, let's take a 14 mil. Got a 14 mil here, and we're going to rotate this motor and make sure that it's properly installed. So you'll know if you mess something up, if it starts to bind or you feel it not wanting to move smoothly. So we have our cam chain in, we have our sprockets in correctly, we have our cam chain tensioner lightly tightened down so there's no slack in the cam chain, and now we're going to rotate this thing clockwise like this and hope for the best. Okay, so you can hear the compression. I have the spark plugs out here to make it easier to rotate, but you can see it's rolling smooth, no binding, rotating properly. Boom. And now I'm going to do one full rotation and bring it back to top dead center down here like we did earlier, and make sure that it's still properly aligned. So I have it at top dead center, and you can see that the intake line is still in place as well as the exhaust line. So this motor is good. We have it to the point now where I think it's going to run. So boom. That the cam chain isn't slacked over here, and there's no slack here. That's how you know your tensioner is in good. There might be a little slack, but it might be able to move a bit. This one should be good. I'm just backing it in slowly here. I only left these out just for sake of rotating the motor a little easier. Come on, baby, get in there. Oh, I guess there's no spark plug in there. Oh, right, here it is. Very nice. We're gonna need a little gasket maker. Where are you? There you are. So let's get some gasket maker. We're just going to apply a little bit here, and here, and here, and there. Finally got the valve cover on. Probably cut most of that out because there was just a lot of cursing and anger. Honda made that way harder than it needed to be. But whatever. Let's see if this thing will start up. Finally got this thing running right. I'm not gonna lie, so I couldn't get it started at first, and I realized that the cam sensor, I forgot to plug it in. Like, this was after I pulled the whole thing apart again, see if I didn't plug something in, whatever, and then I realized, oh, I didn't plug the cam sensor in. So I plugged the cam sensor in, and it fires up. It sounds good, but when I rev it, it dies, and it's bogging down. I'm like, oh no, I messed something up. You know, maybe I messed the timing up or something, which I double and triple checked. So I pulled it all apart again to make sure everything was right, make sure I put everything together properly. You know, maybe like there was a air leak or something, and well, sure enough, the cam sensor, which is here, see the plug broke for it? I had it plugged in upside down, so I had it plugged in incorrectly, so the motor wasn't getting the right data it needed to run properly. So it runs good now, fires right up, and it sounds, the sound went away, there's no more tick, no more knock. So I know I fixed that with the fixing the valve and stuff. So the only thing I have left to do with this bike, now that I know it runs, is I'm gonna strip the fairings, give it a detail, give it a brush and clean. I've got to put a new clutch and master cylinder on the front, and then I'm gonna put the new fairings on it and sell it. So stay tuned.